Welcome into the Alabama Football Report. I am Tom Downey. We have recruiting updates, transfer portal, and some not-so-good news for Alabama football. Elijah Pritchett was arrested on Wednesday night for knowing, quote-unquote, from the police report, knowingly passing on a sexually transmitted disease, which we will, of course, let the legal process play out. If that is accurate, what are you doing? That is not an okay thing to do, Elijah. So we will allow that process to play out. I do not think we will get many details given the nature of the alleged crime. Not a headline you ever want to see. We will move now to the latest on Evan Stewart, who, after much speculation, is finally in the transfer portal after weeks of speculation of, is he going to? He was like the first guy that was mentioned he's going to go in the portal, and he doesn't enter the portal until mid-December, or late December. Kind of crazy there. The early buzz, by the way, as we show you Evan Stewart's career stats, is that this is NFL over NIL per On3. That is the priority. Not getting a bag, setting the former top 10 recruit up for NFL success. Some of the teams that have been mentioned, Alabama, Texas, were the early conversation players. We'll see if that remains the case. Oregon, USC have been mentioned. Tennessee could make a push as well. I would argue Bama, Texas, from the NFL developmental perspective, make a lot of sense. OSU probably has too many guys already from that perspective. Now, Bama, as we look ahead to next year, Jermaine Burton, I don't think comes back. I think he technically is eligible. The COVID year is the COVID year, right? Everyone else is able to return. I would expect some guys to hop in the portal, however. I would be a little bit surprised if everyone comes back, given the potential impact you're going to get from some of your incoming freshmen. It's a lot of wide receivers to carry on your roster. I do think Stewart would be a great fit in the Jermaine Burton role. I think he'd be a great addition there. Plug him in as your transfer outside wide receiver threat, whatever, and develop and then jump to the NFL in theory next season. I do wonder if Texas might make the most sense in the end for Evan Stewart, since they're probably going to lose A.D. Mitchell and Xavier Worthy, two transfer guys. Have Quinn Ewers back. I'd put the edge to Texas, but we will certainly keep an eye on this given how much Bama has been linked early on. Also worth mentioning, in theory, you could always start Ryan Williams on day one. I am always anxious about doing that for the reclassification guys, but it's receiver. Just go make plays. It's not as complicated as say the quarterback is, and the quarterback has never really worked that well for the reclassification guys. We'll spend some more time here on recruiting, because that's still going on. We are still in the early National Signing Day period. If you loved Bama's 2024 signing class, spam RTR, Roll Tide Roll, of course, in the comments, especially if the ad comes here on YouTube. Go do it at the pinned comment. The post-day one, early signing day standings here. The number 2 composite ranking for the Alabama Crimson Tide. 23 signed players. 2 of them were flips. Is worth mentioning this whole greatest recruiting class in Auburn football history, and it is a good class, especially for Auburn standards. Does not really hold a candle to what Alabama did. Auburn's 7, good class. Alabama's 2. Florida, by the way, dipped to 16th. One note is that Bama was unable to land Favor Edwin. He committed to Auburn, which that had been kind of a back-and-forth battle going on there. Alabama did push for Edwin, 68th or 680th overall, 52 ranked offensive tackle. So you wanted to get him. You wanted some more offensive tackle help. Didn't come up there. What is worth mentioning is that in general, Alabama did go after interior offense linemen pretty hard. I do wonder if there was some negative recruiting, because I'm actually okay with negative recruiting. This is college football. It's going to happen. Accept it. Deal with it. Hey, Caden Proctor's there for 2 more years. You're never going to get to play left tackle at Bama, which I think is actually pretty fair in the end. Bama did, as a result, go after the interior offensive line pretty hard. There's Casey Poe, Joseph Ionata, and William Sanders. After last year, a much heavier offensive tackle grouping. Obviously, Caden Proctor, Wilkin Formby, Olas, Miles McVay, Rock Montgomery, who played a little bit at guard. McVay played some at right tackle. Lenian didn't play a ton. He was actually more of an interior guy for Bama. Formby played some at tackle. So there is some young talent here, assuming you don't lose anybody else to the transfer portal, which is, I'm going to keep saying assume because things can go kind of crazy from that perspective. Are you confident right now in the offensive line depth without Alabama getting a transfer via the portal? Why for yes and for no, sound off in the comments section. Now, he has not declared, but he's gonna. J.C. Latham will jump into the NFL draft. He'll be a first-round pick. Now you've got some uncertainty with the Elijah Pritchett arrest, who also briefly went in the portal and then withdrew, which was very awkward because he'd been in the line to play right tackle potentially as well. It would be nice if you had some experienced depth, especially on the outside, because you enter a potential scenario up front on this offensive line, folks, where your backups have played, like 40-something snaps in total. That's a little bit anxiety-inducing there. Here's what Nick Saban said about this offensive line recruiting class. Quote, "We think they have a lot of potential. Obviously, that's a developmental position. So those guys are guys that we think have a lot of ability. We know a lot about them. We had them in camp. We're excited about having them here. We think they can develop into good prospects and good players. I still think we're kind of out there in the market looking for some more of those kind of guys. Offensive linemen, just from a numbers standpoint and from a quality experience standpoint. So we're excited to have them, and we're still out there trying to work to add some people at that position." That screams portal to me. One name we will get to here momentarily, but first, today's show is made possible by Prize Picks. The 12 Days of Picksmas promo still ongoing at Prize Picks. It's a new promo each day leading up to Christmas. They've also introduced Demons and Goblins. It's an alternative projection, basically. Demons, harder to win. The yards, whatever, are higher, but higher payouts. Goblins, easier to win, but lower payouts. Didn't do a Demon or Goblin pick for my Michigan-Alabama CFP semifinal selections. I'm going to spam the Jalen Milroe more than passing and rushing yards. And I like Roman Wilson. Good Michigan player. You'll see him on the NFL on Sundays too. One big chunk play, all he needs. Give me the more than on that front. Go to prizepicks.com/CLNS and use code CLNS for a first deposit match up to $100. Link will be in the comments section and the description of today's show. Again, that is prizepicks.com/CLNS and use code CLNS for a first deposit match up to $100. Now, back to this. Quality experience certainly sounds like the transfer portal. Because again, you are thin in terms of your proven depth guys. Booker will be back, Proctor, Dalcourt's going to be gone, but Jaden Roberts is kind of, at least it was the season-entering lineup, right? Dalcourt already lost his job to Roberts. Roberts has been great. He'll be back. We'll see if McLaughlin comes back. It's the tackle depth that has me thin. So one name to mention here is Luke Newman, who for now is, again, there's not very many good players in the transfer portal, at least along the offensive line. It is always a dangerously thin group. Now, Luke Newman is already drawing some SEC interest. Vanderbilt and Kentucky among the teams he's heard from, and that was kind of early on in his transfer portal process. You could see Bama expand into that conversation. Now, he also considered entering the NFL draft, though, which is worth mentioning here too. 1 sack, 3 hurries allowed, really great run blocking grades, again, all per PFF. The jump from Holy Cross to Bama is massive. I will acknowledge that, frankly, it might be a little bit too big of a jump for Luke Newman, but I'm trying to deliver solutions here when there just are not very many good offensive linemen in the transfer portal. They went for Tyler Smith that one year. Tulsa, he said, I'm going to go pro, is a first-round pick. Go figure, right? So should Bama go after an offensive lineman in the transfer portal? A for yes or B for no? Sound off in the comments section. Before we go, make sure you guys are subscribed, youtube.com/@RollTideTV. Plenty of more transfer portal conversation to come, as that will remain a big talking point. Plus, college football playoff semifinal. Don't miss out.